morning.
Good morning. For some reason, you are not on my screen.
Not even as a caller?
There we go.
Hi, now you can hear me and see me? Or see my name at least?
Yeah, I could hear you. I just couldn't see
Oh,
you.
okay.
So I'm going to apologize now if you get the weather that we just got.
Listen, I'm going to blame you directly. Because that's how it works, right?
Right. Well, we got a blizzard.
Oh my God.
We went from 65 degrees to 26 degrees. Rain turned to snow to blow. And my kids, because southern Minnesota has gotten 6 inches of snow total all winter in little increments about an inch at a time. We've barely had anything with snow. So 1 o'clock in the morning,
Wait.
snow,
All
and
right,
they're
hang on.
running outside.
I'm supposed to go to Vermont on Friday. And I will not drive through the mountains if there's that much snow. Because Vermont is very much a hold my beer and just like leaves the roads and doesn't care.
Uh, it's kind of between Vermont, Tennessee, Mississippi, and parts of Minnesota. That's where you get the redneck songs from.
Well, so Vermont, right? So I'm in New York. For anybody who like listens and is like, wait a minute, why is she talking about a different? But it's an hour. Like it's really not that much of a drive. Like I know people who do that as their daily commute. And like when I went to school, I had like peers that lived in Vermont and drove over the border for school. And like so it's not that big of a deal time wise, but the mentality is so different once you get over there. Like when I'm a licensed professional, right? And so like getting set up to work with this place as a contractor, I'm like, "Oh, do you need all this paperwork?" And they're like, "Oh no, this is Vermont. We don't we don't do that."
They still do handshake deals.
Listen, the world will survive on the barter at the end of the day. Really
I have
story.
literally. Hey, I've built my business on the barter system.
It is, yeah, so did my boyfriend. All right. I'm trying to find. Clearly, all right. We have 1 minute. I wanted to talk about nutrition and mental health today.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was part of a presentation that I did. And so I was just gonna like expand on that because it's such a huge, I don't know, thing for I feel like everybody, especially this time of year, gets rough. Um
Well, especially, people don't realize and they think that they're stuck. Like you, they introduce themselves as I have depression.
no, no. I mean, yes,
And
but like you're more than that.
exactly, people define themselves by their mental health and their labels.
And
And
it like helps you framework yourself and understand, but it's not all of you.
Right. It's like the cliche of, you break up with your boyfriend and you eat a gallon of ice cream.
I mean, so there's a reason. Do we have to do an intro or anything, or can we just dive in?
We can dive in.
All right. Um, so there is a genuine like dopamine response to eating food. So there's a reason that we do that, right? There's a reason that we turn to food for comfort. You genuinely do get comfort from it at first, right? But it's not a sustained comfort, and it makes it worse in the long run, because then now you've got to deal with like, okay, like I ate a gallon of ice cream. And that's really not actually helpful to anybody. So it does genuinely make you feel better at first, and some of it is like that, like treat yourself mentality, right? That usually comes when somebody's like stressed out or had a hard day, and it's like, oh well, I deserve this. And it's like, is that what you deserve? Like, don't you deserve to eat every day because you're alive? Like, and that's always an interesting conversation to have with people when they're like, oh well, I deserved a treat. I'm like, did you? Like, or do you deserve to eat every single day? Like, you don't have to earn the right to eat. um which for some reason we like, I say we, but I feel like it's especially like the diet culture that surrounds women.
Yeah, you get a treat day.
Yeah,
You follow your diet really good so you have the one day to screw off.
or like you earned a special treat, or oh, I ate all of this food, I need to go work it off. Like, it's not.
And I was talking about this the other day with somebody because I was with my mom because she was using McDonald's as a treat to bribe the kids to clean up their mess.
Mm.
And I'm not above bribing my kids by any means, but the way she worded it just bugged me. So I'm like, okay, let's reword this a different way. We go out to eat once a month because that's all I can afford.
It's expensive.
It is. So this is you get everything done, then we'll go to McDonald's as your monthly treat. Not that you get your room clean and you're going to McDonald's, because then every time they clean the room, they think they're going to get McDonald's. But I don't want to establish food as a reward.
Yeah, which is hard. I mean, I always think back to how many food-based reward programs there were growing up, of like, if you brought your report card into like Pizza Hut, you got a free pizza. Or like
The
getting
book
ice
it
cream.
program.
Yeah, you read so many books, you got pizza. If you did like, or you got ice cream or whatever it was. Like, I remember my parents used to do, oh, if you get straight A's, we'll go out for ice cream. And then, like, I realized the other day, I don't even look at my kids' report cards. So I did that for the first time this year. Like,
Hey, I don't either.
if there's something wrong, I'm gonna hear about it.
Yeah,
They're doing great, but I don't know.
but the thing is you focus with them on learning, not on the actual grade system.
Yeah. And it's actually my son's teacher this year. They both have brand new teachers this year, and like, I don't know enough, I guess, about kindergarten teaching, but like, it seems to be going all right. But then my son, who's in fourth grade, um, it is like, it's amazing to see how his teacher is doing things this year, of like establishing the love of learning and like the process of learning. It's not the like, memorizing things to be able to regurgitate. It's like developing the pathways to actually want to continue learning and have a genuine interest, but then also knowing the process of how to gain information, retain it, and utilize it. So it's been very cool to watch. Um, yeah, I'm actually going to write a letter to the principal later today and be like, listen, is he staying? Because I would love for my daughter to have that experience too.
I know a lot of schools are going that way. The problem is it's a one size fits all. We need to adapt our school system so it's not a one size fits all.
So I like where we are with this school district because they don't necessarily do one size fits all. So it's like right now, my son is doing fifth grade math in fourth grade because the system that they use accelerates you based on your ability. So
Oh,
it just continues to give him harder stuff. Um, so he's doing, so it just, and it's not one of my big concerns that I brought up in the beginning of the year. I was like, look, I don't want him pulled out of class for anything, like, because that's detrimental socially, as well as like if it's not being pulled out at the same time you're doing math for math, like he's gonna miss stuff. That's a function of
yeah.
how I grew up. Anyway, none of this is food related, but yeah, actually it is. But it's been very interesting to watch, and I can tie everything back to food. Um, School performance is actually directly tied to breakfast intake.
Mm-hmm.
So there, I tie it always back.
No, and that's the thing is that people don't realize. So many kids leave for school with a granola bar and a coffee.
So, and that's where honestly, school. I feel like we forget that school breakfast exists. Um, There's and my daughter just absolutely loves eating breakfast at school. When where she went to preschool was also they also had a K through I think it's K through 6 section. So the preschoolers could get school breakfast too. So she started there of like she would actually eat at home and then also go to school and eat breakfast. And they were like, "Hey, she only eats like a really little bit at breakfast." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's her second breakfast. Like we're good." Um but she eats breakfast at school almost every day. It's just one easier for us in the morning. They get up, they get ready, they get on the bus and go to school and grab breakfast. Um and it can be like honestly depending on what you're getting for home and if you really calculate it in food waste, it can also be a cost savings depending and some areas you don't even pay for it anymore depending on where you are in the country. In
Yeah.
some areas it's free food and like I'm sorry but don't turn down free food.
No.
Free can I also like it's also free nutritious food. Like it has to meet certain requirements. It cannot be straight up garbage. And I know I've said I think did I go on a tirade on here or was that somewhere else? The products are not the same. So like if your kid's telling you about like a breakfast Danish that they ate, it's not a breakfast Danish like you think. Like it's whole grain, whole wheat. It has to have a certain amount of fiber. Like it's not it has to have like certain requirements of like sugar limits in it. So it's not
Like the Danish,
um
you go to a bakery and buy.
yeah, it's not what you think it is. Because like my son came home and was telling me about this like soda that he got at snack. And I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, it's illegal to serve you soda in school. There's no way. And it's like a sparkling juice that you actually can't buy retail. Um, that I wish you could because he loved it and we had to have a conversation. And I'm like, okay, you get 2 a week because the snack stuff, so like not part of the meal, is kind of pricey. Um, but the meals are not that bad. I think lunch is like 360 in elementary school and I think breakfast is like 250 or something.
But you look at what you pay on a box of cereal and milk alone. Already paid for that.
Well, yeah, and milk in my house is a different story too because we have to do the lactose free milk,
Yeah.
which is
Which
more
is twice as
expensive.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just honestly, it's like it is paying for the convenience a little bit because I could do um like a lactate pill with it, but it's just so much easier for everything I use milk in to just have that to be able to grab. And now that my daughter's lactose intolerant too, it just makes it even easier that I don't have to be constantly hovering over what
It,
she's doing.
exactly. And I was like so thrilled when they made lactose free yogurt.
So I've never had a problem with yogurt, and she seems okay with yogurt still too. It's very interesting. Like she's developed lactose intolerance at the exact same age I did and seems to follow the same path of like things we tolerate. Like she can do a little bit of hard cheese and she can do yogurt, but that's it. Like anything else and she's going to get a wicked stomach ache.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting. And I feel like my parents feel so vindicated because they thought that it was because of all the antibiotics I was on as a kid, and that's like what my pediatrician told them was like, "Oh, it's probably from the antibiotics." And now my parents are like, "Ha! It's not us."
Well, it could have been genetics.
Yeah, they're like so now it looks like it was more of a genetic thing somehow.
So it is them.
Well, yes, but not like an action that they did. It was like but it's yeah, so um I don't know how we got here. Food and mental health. I mean in terms
School.
of school, yeah. Um mental health at school, one of the big things actually that I brought up in a presentation to specifically school athletes was not only the importance of eating breakfast, right, which I feel like sounds so cliche at this point, but it has been shown to improve test scores. Like there's a distinct correlation between the two. Like it is very very important, and I don't care if it's I literally like we have frozen breakfast sandwiches that my almost 10-year-old can heat up by himself. So those are really helpful because we need some of that independence, right? Um I shoved him out the door with one of those the other morning. He's like, "But I don't want to take this on the bus." I'm like, "I don't care, eat it." Cuz he will not stop for breakfast in the morning at school like my daughter will. So it's um right. And the other thing, in which kids don't particularly like necessarily, but for their brains, which are continuing to develop, uh, omega 3s and omega 6s. So think like fatty fish, um, which makes me think we have not had salmon in a while. But we were on a really good kick of having salmon like once a week because the price on it is not that bad at Aldi's. Um, or I would do like a canned salmon, but there's
How's
ways
tuna
to get them in.
fish?
Tuna fish is a great choice too. Yep.
Awesome. Now I don't
Yep.
feel so guilty about. Well, now I feel guilt about yelling at her because she'll go buy like a can of tuna fish and water, or she'll get the packets and she'll just eat it.
My son will eat sardines too. Which I mean, I'm never gonna sit down to a can of sardines. The smell of it grosses me out. He got it from my father, who also loves sardines, and they would eat them together. And now I buy them and keep them in the house so he can snack on them. And that is a fatty fish, and it also is a source of vitamin D because you're eating the bones. So, like, it's an incredibly good snack, especially for children. It's just typically not in a child's palate to
Right.
eat. But that's another great source, and it's cost effective, shelf stable, um, which I've been really into lately. I mean, just with food prices, is cost effective, shelf stable foods. But yeah, tuna as well. Herring, which I feel like is not as common. Trout, which if somebody's never had trout, it tastes a lot like salmon. Um, so that's an option too. And swordfish, but that gets really pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends kind of on your fish budget. But Yeah.
What about like seafood, like shrimp?
So, um, let's look up the omega-3 content of shrimp. We're gonna do shellfish in general because we definitely also like um, lobster. Oh, don't worry, caviar is also a. Oh, so we
Ish.
had. It's not. It's not as high as the fatty fish.
But it's an okay
Um,
compromise.
yeah, I think so. Like, it's still gonna get you some. I'm gonna find the exact numbers and then nuts, right? So for anybody who just really doesn't like fish, you can also get omega 3s and omega 6s from nuts and seeds. I always like to give options because I know especially with fish, some people just really don't cannot do it.
Speaking of which, my daughter listens to your show, by the way.
Oh, good.
Uh huh. And she reads the product labels on the back.
That's excellent. That is honestly the biggest tool that I use for educating people. I'm like, you are surrounded by so much information and you don't even realize it. Like, and then you don't know how to interpret it necessarily, right?
Oh,
So,
she had a meltdown the other day because I bought juice. I bought orange juice, and it says citric acid.
that's okay.
She's like, "Mom, what are you trying to do to me? You're trying to kill me? It's acid."
Oh my gosh. It's lemon juice.
I lost it. I was laughing, but no. Now you should be happy. A 10-year-old reads their labels and complains about what mom buys because mom likes macaroni and cheese out of a box.
I haven't had that. My kids will not eat macaroni and cheese. I don't really understand. Um, but I love that is something that my brother and I used to make all the time in high school.
And I'm really lazy, so I buy the Velveeta. So you basically boil noodles and you put goo into a pan and stir it up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is definitely an easy one.
But mom makes it so mom can heat it up when she's in meetings all day long and can eat something that doesn't have to be cooked.
Yeah.
And she went to throw it all out of my cupboard. She's like, "Mom, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad." I'm like, "Don't eat it."
It's not the best choice, especially if you're eating it regularly, but you can get like a chickpea pasta variety. The texture is a little bit different. You have like they cook so quickly that it gets mushy really easily. You have to almost like undercook the noodles. Um, but that is actually delicious. That I found at Aldi's as well. Um, oh yeah, all right. Definitive answer. Shellfish, although they do have omega 3s, it's not as much as oily fish, but there is some in there. Um, Another source of omega 3s are seed oils that people always worry about. Um, Canola oil, flaxseed oil, and these things are perfectly fine for you. And I don't care how much pushback I get, they are absolutely fine. Um, and they're full of omega 3s, which is some people tout it also as like an antioxidant if you want to use extra buzzwords. Um, so mental health is where we originally started with this, and we got onto school performance and like basically making it through the day as like a student. And we talked about like basically stress eating, right? When you go for that tub of ice cream because you're stressed out for whatever reason, and food rewards. That's how we got there, was food rewards. But there's other things you can do to help improve your mental health through your diet. So, and my caveat with this is always it is not a replacement for therapy. It is not a replacement for medication. Like, it is just an additional part of your treatment. So, I mean, this isn't a food either, but exercise. And I'm not talking, you don't have to suddenly start training for a marathon, but exercise and moving your body is hugely helpful for depression. And I feel like it's such a catch 22. And I get caught in this of like, I don't want to get up and move. But then once I start it, I feel better. And then once I finish it, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And so it's almost like I have to start the habit and then maintain it, right? Something in motion stays in motion. But sometimes I also have to tell myself like, all right, just do 5 minutes and see how you feel. And I inevitably get through the first 5 minutes and I'm like, all right, I guess I can do the rest. I mean, and I only do 30 minutes at a time, so it's not like I'm doing anything crazy. And it's a function of the long COVID where I have to pace myself, but it still makes such a difference. And then food wise, other important aspects would be getting like truly reducing sugar intake in the long term. I know immediately it makes you feel better, but in the long run, you're going to feel better without it. And then making sure that you get in enough protein can actually help with depression symptoms as well. It's not that like again, it's not that suddenly eating a high protein diet is going to make you not depressed, but it can help with depression symptoms if you're getting in enough. So this doesn't mean you need extra, it just means you need to get in enough. And then it's like, well, what is enough? And typically a really easy rule of thumb is trying to hit 100 grams a day, which is a lot harder than it sounds. I usually have to do a protein shake at some point during the day to just bump up that extra 28 grams and make it. Um, so but it definitely makes a difference to be able to do that. So the protein, adequate hydration, that more is more an effect of like you're going to have more mental clarity, less brain fog if you drink enough water. So you're just going to feel better overall. It's not necessarily like depression linked. It's just that you'll have a little bit of an improved mood because you're not going to feel like groggy and irritable. It's one of those things where a lot of times people think that they need an extra cup of coffee when what they actually need is water. As I go and get myself a seltzer because I realize that I'm really thirsty.
You
I'm
know,
like, oh,
I have another quick tip.
yeah.
Another thing that boosts your mood, but also makes you want to eat better food is making it pretty. Using the
Oh,
rainbow.
yeah.
Making the fancy Gordon Ramsay looking dishes. You know, so
I
twisting the pasta a certain way, and
it's interesting to watch like my I call it my will to live, but it's not actually my will to live. Like decline throughout the winter. We've got a touch of seasonal depression, and by this time of the year, I like have no desire to even plate our food for dinner. But then all summer, I'll make it look really nice and like plate it out nicely and spread things out, and like sometimes I'll take a picture of it. Um, and then by this time of year, like last night, we had egg sandwiches, and I didn't even put the berries on the plate. I just put the container of berries on the table and was like, here, you have sustenance.
oh, good, I'm not the only one.
It declines this time of year. It's like January, February for me are the absolute hardest. And so like I talked to my therapist about it, and I've got my sun lamp out now that I do every morning, and that's helping. And like, so we're coming back.
But it's
Um,
hard too because you can't find, a lot of the bright, vibrant stuff like you do in the summertime.
or it's way more expensive because it's out of season.
Yeah.
You can do though, like definitely lean into those bright orange vegetables. So like squash, like butternut squash, it's dull on the outside, but it's a nice bright color on the inside. Beets, where they've got that deep red color, or carrots, so like root vegetables that keep all winter, those have a nice bright color. There's ways to still get some in. And then I usually lean a lot into frozen vegetables in the winter, and like stir frying them. We'll do them sometimes just steamed in the microwave, but stir frying them gives it a little bit different flavor, so it's not bland.
So, question for you.
Yeah.
So, conspiracy theory, rumor, whatever. Does steaming them, cooking them in the microwave deplete the nutritional value?
No.
That
No.
used to be the big thing, you're radiating it because that's how microwaves used to cook. And so you lose the nutritional value, yada, yada, yada.
I mean, you're still using microwaves, right? To excite the molecules in the food and thereby put off heat, thereby heating your food, but it's not dangerous. And no, it doesn't do so. The way, if you wanted to, I guess, deplete the nutritional value of your food, you would like just boil it, boil the living daylights out of it, and you'll actually see the nutrients leak out into the water because the water will turn whatever colors. I'm thinking of like if you're boiling like broccoli and
It'll turn
boiling
green.
it, not steaming it in like a little bit of liquid. This is like full on submerging it and boiling it until it is like mush. The water turns green. And so you can see it's visible. You can see it happening. And there are some cases where like you need it that soft. So there's reasons to do it. Or when I worked with I guess I was an intern still technically with people on dialysis, so with kidney failure and stage renal disease that were on dialysis, they have to have less potassium. And so one of the ways to get your potatoes are a high potassium food, and one of the ways to make them a lower, not definitely not low, but lower potassium food is you soak them in water overnight to leach out the
Mm-hmm.
potassium, rinse them, and then boil them.
Yeah, it also eliminates the starch out of them too.
Yeah, so it's like it's taking out a bunch of the potassium so then they could safely eat these foods. That's yeah, that was definitely an interesting population that I didn't.
Potatoes are cool food.
What do you mean?
Well, like they have such a high level of vitamin C.
Oh, yes. I thought you meant like cool like temperature. I'm like, so I mean some.
No, like cool, like technically they should really put potatoes as a superfood.
There's yeah, it's there's a lot there. It's actually I used to get really bad muscle cramps when I was pregnant, and that's what did it for me. Like I needed the potassium, and potatoes were like the easiest way for me to get in the level of potassium that I needed.
And it's also one of the only type of foods where the meat has more nutritional value than the skin. You know,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. So highly underrated. I love a good potato.
we're Irish. We eat potatoes with everything.
I know. You know what's really sad is my kids don't love potatoes. Although they will eat them. They don't love mashed potatoes, I should say. If I slice them up and roast them, or like make wedges and roast them, they'll devour them. We did that the other night. Um
It's also one of the very few foods that most neurodivergent or autistic kids will eat, especially if you cut them up like fries and roast them or air fry them, which helps them
I
from getting scurvy because most of them won't eat fruits and actual fruits or drink a juice.
Oh, yeah. There are. See, so the last 2 weeks I've been doing my lectures for Albany College of Pharmacy, and we touch on vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and scurvy is one of them, that vitamin C deficiency. Um, and I mean, it happens. You got to think like it's high vitamin C foods were not always prevalent. We think that these deficiencies don't happen in our country anymore, but they certainly do. It just depends what you have access to. Or like if you have issues with um, nutrient absorption is where I used to see them in the hospital. So, oh, did I do something? What happened? Oh no. Okay. There we go. Um, those are the big ones in terms of mood stabilization. There's others there's more like nuanced like vitamin recommendations potentially for like depression or anxiety, but that is a little bit more nuanced. Magnesium supplementation can help with um like reducing stress. So if your anxiety is tied to your stress levels and things, that can certainly help. That's always one that you have to watch out for though, because if you have too much magnesium, it'll make you go to the bathroom. I had somebody once that was like, well, I was having a super stressful day, so I took an extra one. And I'm like, that's not how that works. She's like, yeah, I found that out pretty quick. Um, so it's something that is useful, but more is not better. Um, and there's other ones that have like a little bit of research, but not necessarily a ton. And I always hesitate on that, on like talking about ones where there's not a ton of research. There's some research with the link between vitamin D deficiency and depression. And it's always gonna, like, if you are vitamin D deficient, it would be good to fix that. Um, and it's been shown that vitamin D may increase serotonin levels and help improve mood. But again, you wouldn't want to just randomly supplement with vitamin D. You would want to go check and see if you actually need it first, um, before just popping extra ones. It would be really hard to get to a toxic level, but I mean, I guess theoretically it's possible because it's a fat soluble vitamin. And that's part of where, like I mentioned, like the sun lamp, that's part of where that comes in, is that we don't, and with seasonal depression, is we're not getting that sunlight exposure. And you don't even need a lot. You need like 10 to 15 minutes, but that just doesn't happen in the winter months. And so vitamin D levels can drop. And so, yes, I also do I take a vitamin D? No, I don't take a vitamin D. Maybe I should get on that. Um, but I do the sun lamp, and that helps with vitamin D. So I do it via light therapy instead of an additional supplement. Um, the other one I wanted to just double check are, see, it's there we go. This isn't depression, this is more of an anxiety thing, but sometimes B vitamin supplementations, like a B complex, can help mitigate like the anxiety response. So that's also a possibility. You would always want to talk to your doctor before starting any kind of supplement, because there's the risk for like drug nutrient interactions, or like maybe you've got something else going on where this isn't a good idea. So there's always, you always want to ask first. Um,
I recommend a lot of clients to go get the blood test done to see your nutrient levels.
you get only if you think there's a deficiency, and
Right. Well,
yeah.
right. But then also, if there is a deficiency, to have when they do that blood, they can do a marker test. So some people naturally have a genetic block for absorption of certain nutrients.
And then zinc is the other one where zinc can also be helpful for depression, but you'd also like again, it's not a replacement for medication. It would be something that you would use in addition to, and you'd want to talk to your provider about it first. But it's Yeah. And this is not, you might not even be necessarily deficient. You might need extra. So there is what's called like, and this is not mega dosing, right? You're not mega dosing on these, but there's either mega dosing or having additional dosages above and beyond a deficiency. And you can you can do those to see additional benefit, but you'd always want to be careful, because the other thing I think about is like how it's cleared through the body, right? To make sure that you're not going to get this crazy buildup. So like B vitamins are water soluble. You just pee out the extra. Vitamin D, so many people are deficient. You can go get tested, you can make sure you're deficient. They can tell you based on how deficient you are, how much vitamin D you should be taking every day. Because there are like dosing ranges for vitamins. Um, and then zinc is another one where you could theoretically have too much of it. So you'd want to make sure that you're not getting it in other supplements, things like that. Um, or like taking, I don't know, taking it with something else that's going to make it hard to get out of your body. Um, so all certainly things to consider. I'm just looking up zinc toxicity. Weird. Um, yeah, all things to definitely consider. And could think about like, when I think about like mega dosing, I usually think of like, those emergency packets or any kind of like immunity water stuff. It's usually like these incredibly high doses of vitamin C to help boost your immune system a little bit. And vitamin C does do that. It does play a big role in your immune function. So it helps for sure. And then the other one that comes to mind are like energy drinks that have a ton of B12 in them, which is technically also like a larger dose. I don't know if it necessarily qualifies as mega dosing, but a much larger dose than would ever be needed of B12 to give you like this crazy burst of energy. And you'll also hear about like celebrities and things. I guess it's coming down into more mainstream too. We'll get like B12 shots when they have to be like alert and awake for something. And I feel like you can find that more and more now with the like drip bars and IV bars and things like that, where you can just go in and get infusions or vitamin shots and things, which I think is honestly wild. I really hope, and I think we did an episode on this a while back too. Like, I really hope that they're screening you for like potential interactions and issues and things, because there's always this misconception that anything that's like a vitamin or mineral or like quote unquote natural doesn't have side effects, when that's not the case. You know, if it's like a food, you should be fine, and that's not the case. Like, I remember on here once there was somebody called in saying how many Brazil nuts they eat every day. And I was like, you need to go get tested for selenium toxicity. You've had the amount that you're eating, and it doesn't take much, right? And I'm like, the amount that you're eating, you could genuinely have a toxic level of selenium in your body. Um, and it's a food, so people think like, oh, it must be fine. But also think of like there's mushrooms that are natural and you eat them and you're going to immediately either have a really great trip or just be really sick. Like it's not, and technically it's just a naturally occurring food, like or not food. But yeah, some of these things are either toxic or have interactions or contraindications. So even though it's a vitamin you can buy on the shelf, always, a good resource is your pharmacist. And if you're buying a vitamin somewhere in person, chances are there's a pharmacy right next to you. Like even in the grocery store, um, if you're picking up vitamins, if you turn and look, it's usually right next to the pharmacy counter, and you can ask a pharmacist about it. Or if you go wherever you get your own medications, even better, because they can pull up your file and look at all of it at once and tell you specifically to you what's a good idea and what's not. They're an amazing resource that I feel like isn't necessarily utilized as much as they could be when we have questions like that. Way better than Google. So,
I have a question for you.
yeah,
Have you ever heard of the um, the new study about redox?
it sounds familiar. Isn't it a supplement?
Uh, well, say a redox is a water. I'm actually putting the ingredient list in the chat because it's I haven't found any actual credible studies on it with this product, but
It's that water, right?
yeah,
I
this is
could
the
not,
water thing.
yeah, I could not find anything about this besides
Uh,
like client testimonials,
and a doctor that works for the company.
which I mean, that means nothing. It just means he's
Yeah,
found a
I
way
know.
to get paid. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to be like cellular support, and it doesn't. And I've actually talked to them before. I remember they reached out to me at one point, and I was like, I don't, yeah, I'm going to need more than client testimonials. And they couldn't provide me with any research.
No. So what redox is? It's basically what is it? Give me 1 minute. So there's the government's doing a study on it, but it's
They
basically
are?
how it's short for oxidation reduction, which is chemical reaction that involves the transfer of electrons between two substances.
Oh yeah, it takes me right back to college. Like it's an actual reaction. Redox reactions are something that get, that we study and everything, but it's not um I don't I don't
So
understand
this
how they're like just widely doing that with water.
well, that's my confusion. That's why I was asking you about it because I haven't found anything on it. But so I found the ingredient list and I gave you a link to it. So sodium chloride, the primary ingredient providing electrolytes.
Table salt.
Elect, electrolyzed water, a mixture of water and reactive oxygen and nitrogen species. produced through patented electrolysis process. So what do they just put what? From what I'm reading, it's like basically you're taking electricity and throwing it in water. I don't
But
know.
you're not, but I don't understand. Are they saying that it also creates a redox reaction in your body?
Yeah, yeah. So and
That's
these
not.
and then it's oxidized and reduced forms of signaling molecules. This includes chlorite, hypochlorite, nitrate, the I and the A, nitrate, and then whatever with the I, and then
Nitrate.
hydrogen peroxide, which are involved in redox signaling pathways.
No.
It's not important. It's important to note the exact composition and concentration of these ingredients may vary between batches. It's a groundbreaking dietary supplement that harnesses the power of redox sealing molecules to support cellular health.
You perform, okay. So your body performs a redox reaction literally every time you breathe. So this is something that's already, these reactions happen in your body all the time. And it's not, I don't understand how they think that like drinking something.
Well, the part that I don't get is you're reading this list and it tells you it's hydrogen peroxide in it. Okay, so that is not a natural occurring deal. They claim it's all natural ingredients, supposedly, but it's water. And if you can drink as much of it as you want and it's not going to hurt you, when we know that you technically cannot drink as much water as you want because you're going to kill yourself.
Well, yeah, but they, yeah, that's marketing. Um, it's, I'm just trying to figure out what they think is happening. Because, like, I mean, you have oxidation of food when you cook it or when it's just exposed to air. And technically, that's a redox reaction. So, and this is what I was hoping for when I talked to them a while back is like, is like understanding what reaction they think that is happening based on their drink, their supplement. Um, so it's like those are things that happen in your body every day, and if they're disrupting the like natural rhythm of redox, if they actually are adding in additional redox reactions in your body, like I don't that's not necessarily a good thing at all. Like you wouldn't want additional oxidation of things in your body. You think about like an antioxidant, which are things that help improve or prevent disease, are things that basically reduce oxidation in your body, right?
Right.
So why are you suddenly trying to put in more oxidation?
And their primary, it says here, so I'm GP or Chat GP. I'm using AI to figure this out because I don't understand half this crap. I'm not that smart when technical terms. So it says that the primary reaction being referenced is a creation of solution containing a mixture of oxidized and reduced forms of specific molecules. Primary chlorine dioxide. I can't even talk today. Which are claimed to mimic the body's natural redox signaling pathways by transferring electrons between cells, influencing cellular function and promoting overall health. It's not fully disclosed the exact way they do it and all that. They're not disclosing how it's supposed to happen or what kind of level it happens at.
And it's not, they're all, yeah, they can't define what, I mean, redox reactions are also a function of metabolism, but it's not, and they're saying like cellular function. There's so many different types of cells and so many different functions that happen. It's like, tell me which one, right? And that's what I don't think people understand is like cellular function is not specific enough to tell me what's happening. Like which cells, which function. There's so much more to it and there's so much more depth and like the general honestly like the general public doesn't need that depth of understanding. You don't need this supplement. I like you just need to like eat food. But so
Well,
it's
my
yeah.
biggest issue is they claim they cure diseases. Like
Oh, you're
they
not allowed
cure.
to do that. If they're claiming that they cure something, they're going to get in so much trouble by the FDA.
Oh, I have heard nonstop how it cures autism.
They will if if someone else says it, that person can get in trouble for like mismarketing it. Maybe, maybe not. But if they are claiming it, if they're claiming it cures something, the FDA they'll get in trouble with the FDA and they'll have to pay fines and have to remarket their product and have to redo any marketing that says that it's a cure because that is highly regulated in terms of being able to say that it actually cures something. Um but it's not that's I I would be wary. It sounds like it honestly like reading the label on it, it looks like it's just a really watered down electrolyte drink. Um
And
more
my
than anything
fear is
else.
because it's got chlorine in it. You know, one of the. So how is it natural when it's got chemicals in it?
Well, if it's NaCl, right? It's sodium chloride.
Um, Depends on. And see, this is the thing. There's different kinds for different things. So, like the one for autism, because one of the conspiracy theories we'll talk about this coming up in a couple of weeks is actually has a detox program, and so
Oh, please.
because they yeah, and one of the detox programs is actually they use is a chlorine water or a chlorine tablet type deal for kids.
It's yeah, I'd want to see like what exactly it is, right? Cuz like a lot of times things will say like something chloride and it's like, "Oh my god, is that bleach?" Cuz it looks like chlorine, like the name, and it's really just a salt. Um like a whatever kind of salt. Like we always think of table salt when we think of salt, but there are other electrolyte salts besides table salt, NaCl. Like there's potassium chloride is also a salt. There's other salts that exist. Um, so it might be something like that. I would definitely be interested in reading what's in it. Um, but I mean, again, I'm
Chlorine dioxide.
interesting. Um, I wonder. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Back to the redox thing for a second. That drink. I wonder if they're trying to say that like that their drink helps you like with the redox reaction, right? Because that would make sense. Because in terms of like removing electrons and putting them into the energy cycle, which is done in the like, and then like the function of the mitochondria that comes after that, maybe. I genuinely wish I knew what they were thinking. And like I said, I talked to them. I tried to get an understanding, but I just didn't.
You get more confused by talking to them than you do before.
And that's the
Because they
sign
talk in circles.
that's the sign that something's wrong. If you feel like if you're coming away with less clarity.
Yeah, it baffles me that it's expensive.
The
It's like
water?
200 bucks.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, are you kidding me? I'm over here trying to buy milk and eggs. I'm not buying that.
The good thing is now cage-free organic eggs, non-hormone injected chickens, their eggs are now the same price as the cheap dollar. It used to be dollar eggs.
Yeah, I just buy whatever eggs are on the shelf and I just make jokes about how now I make them, $300 egg sandwiches
Did you see? There's a meme on social media. It was really cool, really funny. So, do you know why there's a shortage of eggs?
from bird flu.
Well, yes, but do you know why there's a shortage of eggs? Not the actual real reason.
Oh, no, tell me.
Because all the hens are now recognizing themselves as roosters.
Oh my god. Um, so chlorine dioxide tablets, they do they actually make them for water purification,
Mm-hmm.
like emergency water purification.
Mm-hmm.
So small amounts are in fact safe for digestion, but I guess you'd like again, this is not something that I would suddenly like take as a quote unquote cure or treatment for an issue without checking with a medical provider. Um, right? Because from what you're talking about, they're not doing like one water purification tablet in like a quart of water. Like it's not adequately necessarily like adequately diluted.
Correct. Anyone who lives in a floodplain usually has those around because you
In case
flood, you
the
get.
water's dirty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have them in my basement. Like it's
Another good thing is charcoal. Charcoal is a great water purifier.
I remember my dad saying, didn't they used to use like iodine?
Yeah.
That's when he was in the army. That's what they used to use was the iodine tablets.
Yep. They still do.
I wonder if so he gave my kids when he retired and was cleaning out the basement. He gave my kids like this survival kit thing that he found of like a medical kit. Like it's got bandages and all this stuff in there. And didn't go through it first. And all of it expired in like the 90s. And I'm like, oh, all right. I'm like, let's take a look. I'm like, Dad, we're not giving my kids a scalpel. Thank you. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't check it. Yeah, like all that kind of stuff was in there. I'm like, this bacitracin, I guess they can play with, but it did expire when I was 6. Like, so they play with like the bandages and stuff that were in there, and there's the directions in there for like using a tourniquet. I was like, but we did take the scalpel out and the smelling salts.
Wow.
What a strange life.
Hey, my kids have the same life. Don't feel bad. So
No,
they
I
get it
know.
from mom.
It was just like, I mean, it I guess it was didn't occur to me necessarily that like not everybody has a gas mask in their basement. Like we used to play with the gas mask growing up and like I don't know. It was,
The gas mask and the helmet along with the rain gear.
of course. We used to figure out if we could carry the fully packed rucksack or not.
You could crawl in the rucksack.
Yes. 100%. And apparently it wasn't necessarily normal for your father to teach you if you get randomly dropped in the woods, this is how you find your way out. It's like, oh,
See, my kids do that. I do that to them all the time.
my dad does it to probably my daughter as she gets older too, because he definitely didn't gender discriminate with that information. My brother and I both got it, but my son 100% has been getting that from my dad, and I love it. not that I think my son's going to end up like dropped in the woods, but just in case, like
But
he
you
has
get
another
lost in the city, the same rules apply.
yeah, and like map reading and topographical map reading and like all of that was stuff that was instilled in us pretty early. That I definitely appreciated from my infantry father.
Plus, it keeps them entertained for a long time.
It does. It kept us
It's not
entertained.
like a 20-minute project. This is a couple hour project.
Oh yeah, over last summer, they built like a lean-to out in the woods. Um, yeah, like got really into it.
We got a teepee in our backyard because of the kids. When Dad cut down the trees,
That's awesome.
I can stand up in it.
Oh wow. So, we are at 1 o'clock. I feel like we have done a lot today. We did touch on mental health quite a bit, quite a bit. And then I feel like we always come back to conspiracy theories and supplements, which I will talk about ad nauseum. So that's perfectly fine with me.
Hey, right now with the Department of Health and who's in charge,
I try so
we
hard not to get political on here, but yeah, we're gonna end up getting political, I'm sure, as this goes on because I,
especially with the outbreaks of measles and
dude, it's vaccines were created for a reason. They are in fact tested, and if like the schedules were of vaccinations were developed by professionals, like if you for some reason feel like you need an alternate vaccine schedule, you would need to take that up with your doctor, but you probably don't. Um and I don't know.
and most doctors are willing to compromise with it. Like my kids don't get them all at once; they get one shot at a time.
And some of that can also be like, what does your kid tolerate? And it's yeah, but
But
it's
my daughter gets reactions. She gets the fever. So,
oh yeah, so then it's just too much stress on her body. So it makes sense to space it out. But it's right, that's very individualized. It's her particular reaction. And I think what gets lost sometimes is like the guidelines are created as a very, very general guideline. And sometimes there are individual considerations, and that's why there are, you know, doctors, PAs, NPs, like all these people that can help you with that clinical judgment aspect.
and you can go onto the vaccine website and get a list of every single ingredient. It's
Yeah.
not hidden. They're not leaving things out as a conspiracy. It's illegal.
Yeah. And it just, the people that I know, that one of the big conspiracies was like, you're getting microchipped through your vaccines and things. And I'm like, it wouldn't fit through the needle.
No, you don't leave a needle it needs. That and it don't contain heavy metals. We at one time did back
And
in the day.
and there are people that have had, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but like there are certain ones where there is contraindication, and certain people that have like had Epstein-Barr virus like shouldn't get certain vaccinations, but it's very clear, right? And that's something that you work with your provider on, of like, hey, I had this, what am I supposed to get and not get? Like, so
That's why
it's
they go over that list of do you have issues with eggs? Do you have issues with this food? Do you have issues with this food? Because
yeah,
those are all the basis of your vaccine.
yeah. It's all it's transparency is there. Sometimes you have to know where to look for it. I was doing some work this morning on like looking at like federal funding to things, and
Good
like you
luck.
can look all of that up. It's all online.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's all
there.
pretty transparent.
Yeah. But all right, I'm going to get back to it.
So we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday. Hopefully Linda comes back.
I know. Whenever she's ready.
Her seat will be waiting for her.
Yes.
So have a good day. Have a good night. See you back here Friday.
Bye.
Bye for now.